Welcome back, Keepers of the Flame. Okay, so today I'm being called to take note on the energies that are surrounding, like, the not just the safety, but the put this into words. So it's not just a lack of safety that the systems that we now are under, or not necessarily under, but we're coming to the realization that the systems that we have um, basically no choice but to partake in are seeking to poison us and do horrible, terrible things to us. And we're the only first world country that allows these toxic chemicals in our environment and all that other good stuff. So when we have a narrative that's kind of foggy to us because we are so inundated with toxins and whatnot, if we can begin to pull back from supporting those systems and those structures. And it's not necessarily that we need to actively dismantle them, we just need to pull the energy back. So, regardless of what you are afraid of the consequences that it might be, and that comes with an understanding of um, being safe in your own body. Coming to the conclusion that they sought your consent and received it without your consent. They conned you into giving things away that you didn't know you were giving away, or where it was going to, or what the purpose of it was, or how it was going to play out in the community, how many people were going to suffer because of it. So pulling back the energetic resources is so what it'll do is, so there's a foundation of trauma. I think I talked about this before in a couple previous videos. But when the foundation is trauma and you pull your energy back from it, you're going to have a little bit of a detox, which means maybe a little bit of fatigue and all that other good stuff. And you're going to have like a little bit of a breakdown because the systems you've been supporting have never, under any circumstances, had your best interest at heart. They were trying to con and manipulate and poison you in various forms. And that's a difficult pill to swallow when the entire structure of your life, and this doesn't, I'm not just talking about religion and politics here. I'm talking about the entire system of life. It's structurally built on trauma and causing it in every single solitary being on earth. That's just the way the systems are functioning. And so we have well-meaning people that want to go out there and do good, but the systems themselves are the administrators, the bureaucracy, the competition are constantly preventing that from happening. And due to like the chronic illness of the corporations and their constituents and their leaders, the system has to crumble because they're like, well, we can't have anybody who can tell what's going on in our systems anymore. So we're going to just make sure that they can't report on us. They can't do anything to prevent it from happening, and they can't do anything once it does happen. And that's why it's systematically being broken down at the moment. And so this is why there's a huge push in the government and various corporations to take away the people who would advocate for said people. And that's by design. It's not for protecting the children. It's not for helping families function in the world. when there's little to no support. It's not for helping, anybody who has been afflicted by these toxic systems. It's not to help. It's to reinforce the trauma. It's to reinforce that, yep, you're on your own and we're not going to help you. And not only are we not going to help you, but we're going to demonize your position in society. We're going to take away your titles. We're going to take away your jobs. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing. So it's a systematic breakdown. And it structurally looks just like a systematic breakdown. But what we're ignoring about this is it's femicide. It's femicide. So the system itself realizes it's collapsing, and patriarchy itself is, we've got so many systems right now in the meat grinder. Religion's going through it, science is going through it, politics is going through it, the economy is going through it. Everything that's built on a patriarchal structure is up for meat grinder submission. And when that happens, when you poke the beast, or the beast realizes it can't feed anymore, that its food supply is running out, it will lash, and it will lash hard. And the repercussions for that are usually pretty not exciting. So when we're going through this state, and I don't want to support the high vibe community here because that's freaking gross. If you're not willing to admit to the reality of the situation and the energy, hi baby, sorry, lovely little birds outside. So if you can't get off the high vibe train and get on the like whole vibe, real vibe train, you're gonna end up on a very unpleasant cleanup crew. That's all I gotta say. And good luck scraping that off your soul. So when we have this narrative, look at the Germans. We still give them crap for what they did, what their ancestors did, whatever. Okay, so more trauma, yay. So, and that's why I don't like high vibe, because they're perpetuating the trauma rather than saying, okay, we're just going to take all of our attention, time, and energy away from these, but keep an eye on them and make sure that the people that are in fallout don't have to be in fallout. But they didn't bother doing that. It's just gonna sit on there, you know what, and whatever. Okay, so the notion of getting safe in the body, the notion of like, I'm choosing peace over whatever chaos has been thrown my way. I'm going to sit in my sovereignty and appreciate all the beauty that life has to offer while comprehending and advocating for other people. Not just going, well, we're going to meditate. You got to speak up. You got to say something. You've got to stop the bullying. You've got to do something. So frequency, energy, and vibration are very, very powerful things. But the high vibe communities don't really know how energy works, because if they did, they wouldn't be on the high vibe train. They'd be on the whole vibe train. So that's I just had a conversation with somebody who was like, and we're talking about the reality, and they're like, we're not, or she was like, we're not just, she speaks in we, even though I was just having a conversation with her. We're not denying reality. We're just shifting our focus to a new reality. And I said, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with like creating and stepping into this shift, this, bridge into the other place. But we're not doing anything to step in a conscious awareness of the systems that we ourselves have uplifted. We're not being conscious of that. So we are taking the unawareness of the systems that we still support because a lot of us feel like we have to, or there's no other option, or whatever it is. There's so the systems we support, we have to completely energetically withdraw from. And this is a really difficult thing for people to perceive of, but we're about to cross a bridge here with this new moon. We're about to cross a bridge and go over those mucky waters, and we are carrying all of the energy from the systems we don't want to look at because it might hurt our feelings. So I'm just saying that if you're going to do any rituals on the new moon, start tonight with releasing all the attachments and ties and bonds to the patriarchal systems. Because if you take that into the if you take that over the bridge, yeah, you're not gonna have a good time. So just keep that in mind when you're going over the bridge. If you take those patterns and situations with you, and those, if you've got a subscription to this and a subscription to that, and you're still going to this, that, and the other time, attention, energy, whatever, you're still subscribed to that YouTube page, or whatever it is. Like, if you are not energetically like sifting out those old systems of patriarchal constructs, I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you that the energy being carried forward is not conducive to creating anything new. We're still in the old patterns. So how can I put this? The old patterns. Okay, so let's go all the way back to the old that we now are in bed with, if you will, or not, whatever. We're in cahoots with. So if there's prey, there has to be a what? If you're praying, there's a predator. Okay. If there's high vibe, there has to be a low vibe. Okay. And that creates a subconscious loop in the brain that says, now you might be convincing yourself that the low vibrational people are the ones that do terrible things to other people, and yada, yada, yada. And that could be, but it's also the low vibrational people. I hear it so often that are attached to old paradigms, or this, that, and the other thing, or have a scarcity mindset. What's the other word they use? A lack mentality, whatchamacallit mentality. Either way. So this is a co-creation. So if you're going to choose to just high vibe and ignore all your low vibrational things, that's got to be put off onto something. And so those dichotomies are not going to match up on the other side. So the laws of the universe is everything must be balanced, right? I think that's number one on the law of the universe list. It's number one. The universe must be balanced. So what's up here is going to have to come down. So you've been conned into creating your own suffering. So you gotta be careful with that stuff, guys. You really gotta think and bring it in and say, okay, how is this going to play out in my reality? Yes, I want things to be good for everyone. Yes, I want this, that, and the other thing. But in my own vibrational, energetic field, is this healthy for me? Okay, so just keep that in mind when you are co-creating and manifesting and whatever else. Just be very mindful of that. Not for the collective, for yourself. If it hurts you, it's going to hurt the collective. Okay? And oftentimes we appear like we are being helped by the universe, but it's a co-creation thing. It's a co-creation thing. It's not I did all the work by myself with no other outside assistance. So see, we like to think of like all as one, and then we become islands when anything comes into our lives. Especially when it's bad, especially in the spiritual community. If anything bad comes into your bed, you did that, forgetting we are co-creators and we are all connected on the web. And so it's like, if we don't leave behind the narrative of the old patterns, just patriarchy in general, I'm just going to use that word as a broad brush. If we don't let those go and we step into the new world with this divided dichotomy, race, religion, politics, gender, whatever it is, whatever narrative that's running in the background, yeah, I just highly encourage you to take today and just release, let it go. It's not about beliefs anymore. It's not about beliefs. It's about what you know, what you can see, what you can physically experience in your own world. Screw what the Nazi white coat has in front of them when it comes to numbers, because that's manipulated. If you can't feel it in your own system, I am serious. We have gotten ourselves into so much trouble by listening to any authority figure who presumes to know that they have the correct information. And maybe they have it on good authority that their information is correct. But I am telling you this, when the billionaires are running the experiments and the research and funding this, that, and the other thing, you're damn right they're screwing with the outcome. Just like they do with religion. I have it on good authority that something that physically says in a book that they're a horrible, wretched, awful, disgusting pile of poo is not. They're really good. They should be worshipped and adored and obeyed. Excuse me, why do you think all this shite keeps happening in society? Because the thing that they say is such a great thing isn't a great thing, because when the rubber meets the road, horror happens. Like, the Dark Triad is the inspiration for a lot of horror flicks. Okay, so this is not, it's not. So, and then they can't, oh, this is Satan's work. Who does Satan belong to? Yeah, God. God. Satan belongs to God. That's the Abrahamic narrative. The devil also belongs to God. The only other place you're going to find the devil is in Venus. And the only other place you're going to find Satan is in Saturn. So, just come to a little bit more not a positive way to spin it, because you can't spin what was created to manipulate and control and coerce people into giving consent to those acts that happen in those textbooks. Four of them. Four. Forgot about the Hodel for a second. So, all four of the textbooks. We've given our consent to the happenings in those textbooks. And you can cherry pick all you like, but it's the whole book. It's the whole book. It's the whole story. So you have to start sifting through what will soon be ashes, and And I don't mean in a literal sense. I mean, we just need to pull our time and attention and energy back from those places, people, and things that are still adhered to that. We don't do anything terrible to them. That's not a requirement. We just pull our time, attention, and energy and resources away and let them fall off on their own. We do not need to hurt people. That's their narrative. Which means if you believe that we need to like hurt people who don't believe the same things you do, you're in their narrative still. You're stuck in that paradigm. There's never a need for violence under any circumstances. We've just been conned and coerced into that because some other fool-headed person was conned and coerced into that. Okay? So drop that narrative. Just drop it. Stop giving it time, attention, and energy. Okay? And then there's all sorts of like poverty praising in that book too. So let that narrative fly on by. Cannot express this enough. Cannot express this enough. We are co-creators. And the people who are uplifting the narratives that are involved with this are not only, I want to say disavowed from having their own best interests at heart, but they will never be able to perceive anybody else's either, because that trauma bond exists so deeply. So if it's entrenched, let it go. Let it go, release it. If you keep trying after this, it's gonna come back on you when we cross that bridge. So it's not about two worlds, it's about coexisting in a peaceful nature. It's not about harm, it's about harmony. Okay? Ew. I feel like I stepped in a puddle on that one. Okay, so when we can get into a state of autonomy, sovereignty, and authenticity, that will be the frequency, energy, vibration that we will be exuding. And authenticity and genuine and whatever else has nothing to do with denying. Has nothing to do with denying. If you can't see it and admit it that it exists, it will continue to come for you. If you see it for what it is, it sets the universe in motion and says, well, she learned that lesson, or he learned that lesson, or he knows what's going on over there. She knows what's going on over there. She doesn't need that lesson anymore. All finished. Lesson complete. Cords cut. This is why we do the shadow work. Not to come to some sort of conclusion about right, wrong, good, bad. Stop labeling crap. Just say, it exists. It exists in the world. It exists. And I'm finished having to deny that. I'm finished having to, what do we call that? White brush? Soft brush? I can't remember what it's supposed to go. Whatever. We're not whitewashing it anymore. It's not pretty. It's not beautiful. There's nothing sacred that's allowed to exist there. They can perceive that there's sacredness somewhere in there, but it's not allowed to exist. And their storyline explains that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It exists in the spaces that are unseen. Because if they were seen, they would invoke rage in the vast majority of us here on the planet. We don't like those things because we want access to them so desperately that once we do get a glimpse of any of them, we're and that's the thing, is you'll see those beautiful creatures out in society, and they're targeted. There was a lady who recorded a dude behind her in Walmart just following her because she was going to let him go first in Walmart or something like that, and And he was like, no, you go ahead. And she said, thank you. But she thinks maybe he didn't hear me. So he's now following me, videotaping me, and told me that I had a fat rear. And I was like, well, here it is. Here it is. Okay, so turning your blind eye to it and doing the high vibe thing. We have to acknowledge that it exists. We have to be willing to look. We have to be willing to say, there's more work to be done here. If we ignore and stop engaging in advocacy, in self-autonomy, in any of that, we are consenting for it to continue by ignoring it and negating it. So we have to admit that it exists, and we have to start advocating in our speech, in our thoughts, in our actions. We have to start bringing awareness and attention to what is going on in reality. So when women are being attacked unjustly and you're turning your face away from that, you are now part of the apathetic system that will allow this to thrive. You are the fertilizer that's allowing this to take root. Okay, so if you're not bringing attention to it and calling for an end, you are in essence advocating for it. There's no other way around that. So you need to start bringing attention to it, advocating against it, facilitating a stop to it, and then then you can claim high vibe. Okay? And I would venture to say it'd be a whole vibe, though. It's a whole vibe. I'm a whole person. I don't have to neglect parts of myself because society is over here making me uncomfortable with those parts of myself. I don't have to deny my humanity because those bad things are happening over there. Okay, I'm not going to claim sainthood because that's not who I am. Sainthood is not anything to be praised at all. It's not. Mother Teresa was following orders. Women were not allowed to touch Pentacles. You were not allowed to handle money. That's in the Bible. And she was not allowed to handle the money. And she got so much fucking shit for not touching the money, for giving it away to the church. She got so much freaking shit. She was simply telling us, they're not going to allow me to touch it. So here I am doing what I can, taking the dying people off the streets and still catching shit. And they had doctors come in to assess the situation, but no doctors came in to actually help. And they're claiming that she was the horrible one. Do you see how this works? Do you see how this perpetuates itself in society? So it doesn't matter what good you do for society, you're still going to be demonized for it, but it's the same two institutions that are going to demonize you for any sort of assistance. So if we don't stop that pattern now, we're going to carry it with us into the future, and we're going to have a really tough time with it there. Okay? So nip it in the bud now before this whole on the other side of the bridge thing happens. Okay? So we need to... Okay. I hope I am getting through and explaining this correctly, because they're telling me the energy is ripe right now for the plucking, and I need to get the message across in a cohesive way. So okay, so if we honor the self, the whole self, not the high vibrational self, the whole self. There's a duality here. So there's think of like the scales in Libra, duality. Okay. Where there's trauma against whatever, there's joy and love. Mash the two together rather than saying, I have to stay in this trauma or I have to completely ignore the trauma and come over here in a high vibral state. Say, okay, I see the scales balancing back and forth, and I can hold both at the same time. I don't have to step into one or the other. I can hold both at the same time. The scales are the only object in the ethos or in our whatever wheel for a reason. They're the only object. They're crucial. Hold both at the same time and balance in your system. That's how we change this. Not by ignoring it, negating it. We just take our energy all the way back and hold both at the same time. Hold. Not negating, not neglecting. We just take our energy all the way back. All the way back. And that's going to be a huge thing, is if you are holding the structures from the past, the scales will tip horrifically. That's why high vibration tips the scales too hard, too far, too fast. So when balance comes back and knocks on your door, guess what else is going to happen? Okay, so when Libra season comes around, we recommend even Gemini at this point, those dualistic natures come around. Okay, hold the line. Hold it. Hold it. Hold that line. Okay, so don't go off the deep end on one side and don't go off the shallow end on the other side. Hold that scale. Balance. Not negation, not neglect. Balance. So your energy is your own and it's held sacred, but you are not ignoring anything. You have to be able to hold all, see all, in order to cross that bridge and not have the stuff that's been on an extinction path manual type of thing, I guess. Trying to ask for words here. So, when you can just revoke the attention, time, and energy without saying you don't matter, and I'm going to go over here and negate your existence by ignoring it, you have to hold the dichotomy. If you can't feel this when it comes to humanity, you're disconnected. You've been conned out of your own system once again. When there's prey, there has to be a predator.